welcome back to Nails with Her Films. Today, I'm finally reviewing the first two Deadpool movies. The Deadpool films are the only X-Men movies that I watched in the theater when they came out. I'm a huge Deadpool fan. I've actually collected Deadpool comics and I have quite a few Deadpool merch. This is one of my prized possessions, interactive Deadpool's head, not to be confused with Headpool. It talks and responds to sound and movement.
You know what? Let's take a walk around the block. I think the embarrassment of you carrying around a toy is worth the cardiovascular benefits.
Isn't it amazing? I became a Deadpool fan around 2014 when a friend introduced the character to me and I was intrigued by the whole anti-hero thing. I read a few comics and was instantly a fan of how funny, bloody, and chaotic Deadpool was. Granted, I stopped reading the new Deadpool comics a few years ago because the jokes got old, but I still love the character. And as a Deadpool fan, I have to say the two movies are amazing. It's how Deadpool is supposed to be, violent, hilarious, and simple. Let's start with the first Deadpool movie. Honestly, I don't have any problem with it except for a few small things. The first Deadpool film is just so unapologetically Deadpool. The action is so bloody and thrilling. Because Deadpool's power is just regeneration and his enemies are mostly human, the fights are not overly CGI'd, which makes the gore even better. We get to see bad guys being gruesomely killed and human parts flying everywhere, just the way Deadpool should be. The humor is also amazing. When I saw the messed up credit in the beginning, I knew the movie was going to be good. Most of the jokes land and they understand Deadpool's vulgar, sick humor. They also use the fourth wall break at the right times. It doesn't feel overused. I feel like a lot of current entertainment doesn't understand this, but breaking the fourth wall and meta humor don't automatically equal funny. If you use it too often or the joke itself is not good, the audience won't find it funny just because it's self-aware. Fortunately, Deadpool uses fourth wall breaks and meta humor cleverly and doesn't over-rely on them for comedy. Next, let's talk about the story of Deadpool. It's pretty simple. Wade Wilson is a mercenary who's got cancer. In a desperate attempt to cure it, Wade agrees to be experimented on by a shady organization, which specializes in creating mutants. Wade's mutant gene eventually awakens, giving him regeneration power, but because his cancer cells and healing ability constantly fight each other, his appearance becomes horrendous. To fix his butterface and get back his girl, Deadpool has to hunt down the person who did this to him. The story is very self-contained and simple, which is a good thing. Deadpool is an anti-hero, so it makes sense that his story is just about him. He doesn't want to save the world, he just wants his face and girl back. The motivation is pretty Deadpool. I mean, the guy tries to kill himself in the comics because he wants to be with death, so he's pretty romantic in a messed up way. He's childish and selfish. He only cares about achieving his goal and doesn't really give a fudge about anything else. It's not very heroic, but that's the idea of an anti-hero. Deadpool is not a monster, but he's not a good guy either. Although I feel like the movie leans a bit too much toward the good guy side, it doesn't make Deadpool a hero. At the end of the day, he's still extremely irresponsible, childish, and does whatever the fudge he wants. I love how both he and the villain Ajax groan when Colossus is giving the to be a hero speech. And while it's very predictable, it's satisfying when Deadpool put the bullet in Ajax's head in the middle of the speech. Speaking of the villain, the bad guys in this movie are simple too, and it's not a bad thing. Like I said, a Deadpool movie should be simple, so we don't need a complicated villain. Ajax is just an asshole who enjoys torturing people, and that's fine in a movie like Deadpool. Most of us just want to see Deadpool crack jokes and chop up bad guys, so a one-dimensional villain is just fine. Besides, while Ajax is a pretty generic villain, he's certainly charming. However, I really don't get the whole what's my name thing. Is that a reference of some kind? That part seems really random to me, and it's never explained why he's so triggered by his real name. But other than that, he's a neat villain for Deadpool. Besides the villain, the other characters are fine too. Colossus is adorable and just such a cinema roll. I do find it to be a bit over the top, like when he stops fighting to let Angel pull up her shirt, but it's fun to have a character that's the complete opposite of Deadpool and a stereotypical hero for him to make fun of. Negasonic Teenage Warhead is okay. She's not really likable, but I guess that's kind of the point. She's supposed to be a stereotypical teenager, and since she only has limited screen time, I don't find her to be that annoying. Lastly, we have Vanessa, Deadpool's girlfriend. She's likable, I would say. There's nothing complicated about their relationship, but you can tell that they love each other very much, which is really all you need in a simple film like Deadpool. She makes him more human and relatable. That being said, I do have some small issues with the film. First of all, how can Vanessa survive the fall in the end? I honestly don't think the oxygen torture casket thing is that sturdy. As Deadpool 2 would say, that's just lazy writing. Anyway, my biggest issue with the film is a cosmetic one. I'm pretty disappointed with how good Deadpool looks. When his face got mucked up in the torture device, I was like, that's it? That's what you call ugly? Deadpool should be way more hideous than that. He's just Ryan Reynolds with bumpy skin and no hair. It's nowhere near how repulsive Deadpool is in the comics. Even Freddy Krueger, whom they mention in the movie, looks worse than DP. This isn't a big issue, but for a movie that tries to be comic book accurate, I expected them to do better. Anyway, Deadpool is a fun little movie that really understands why people like Deadpool. There's absolutely nothing complicated about it, it's just very entertaining. Although some people don't like it for how shallow and vulgar it is, I have a friend who's like that. It's what Deadpool fans want because that's how Deadpool is. The movie gets this and delivers. I absolutely love it. Next, Deadpool 2. I have mixed feelings toward Deadpool 2. When I first watched it in the theater, I kind of like it, but after going home, I didn't like it as much anymore. But after rewatching it for this video, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. I still like the first one way more, but Deadpool is okay too. I'm going to go through what I didn't like about the film first. Compared to the first movie, I don't think Deadpool 2 is as funny. A lot of the running gags don't work for me, like Cable being a racist or the orphanage staff being PDF files. These jokes are really low-hanging fruits. They aren't particularly funny or clever and feel like Reddit-level humor. Also, the death thing of DP is way too long. I know that's the joke, but it really isn't funny. Let emotional scenes be emotional. I'm fine with DP saying stuff like, it's so hard to die, but it doesn't need to be that long. And wouldn't it be funnier if Deadpool tries to mimic Logan's death scene? That would also tie in with how the movie started. I feel like that's a real missed opportunity. You can have him try that at first, and everyone is clueless as to what he's doing, and he eventually decides to go out his own way. Anyway, besides the humor, the story is a bit weak too. This time, Vanessa dies at the beginning of the movie, and DP can't get over the guilt of getting her killed and losing her. To see her again, DP decides to help a mutant kid, Russell. Cable, a time-traveling cyborg, is hunting Russell because he will eventually kill his family. The story is just a bit much because they're trying to introduce stuff like X-Force and Cable. I'm pretty disappointed in Cable because we don't really know much about him. I've actually read Cable and Deadpool, so it's pretty underwhelming when he turns out to be a random guy from the future in the movie. There's no explanation regarding his backstory at all. The only thing we know is that Russell kills his wife and kid in the future, and that's it. We have no idea how he has the device to time travel and how it works, and the film doesn't even mention that he's supposed to be Cyclops' son. However, I do think it's funny when DP acknowledges that movie Cable isn't as buff and tall as comic Cable, because I complained about that when I first saw movie Cable. X-Force is a bit disappointing as well. They're supposed to be X-Men, but more military-like. But X-Force is a joke in this film. I know they're supposed to be a parody of superhero teams in Deadpool 2, but it's just not what I expected. And the only actual X-Force member is Domino, whom I find less underwhelming but still not what I was hoping for. She doesn't have any connection with Deadpool or Cable, she's just a random merc who joins X-Force. If you replace her with someone else, it wouldn't make a difference. I know this is the case for most of the X-Men supporting characters, but because of Domino's history with Cable, I thought they might do something more with her. Besides Cable and X-Force, I don't really like Russell either. He's a poor kid who's abused. I do feel bad for him, but he's just a bit annoying. DP kills a person who abused you and protects you from Cable, and you're just going to turn your back on him because the guy says he doesn't care about you? He obviously cares. Stop being a brat and be grateful. And I don't understand how they don't come up with the solution to kill the headmaster before Russell does. If they kill him before Russell does, he has no one to kill. Problem solved, right? Even if it doesn't work, it seems like the kind of solution DP would come up with. At least let him bring it up. Speaking of DP, he's too much of a good guy in this one. I know that in the comics, he often decides to do the right thing as well, but his reason for being good is really weak in Deadpool 2. He helps Russell only because visions of Vanessa tell him to do so, and because he wants to see her again, he does what he's told. I just think the visions are way too convenient and feel like a plot device to make DP a better person. And I'm not sure how I feel about DP's mid-credit time traveling being canon. He spends the entire movie getting over Vanessa's death, and you're just going to undo all of that in a mid-credit scene. Abusing time traveling is a very DP thing to do, but I don't think it's necessary and really undermines what he goes through in the movie. As much as I just complained, I actually think Deadpool 2 is okay. I like the emphasis on family, and it's something that has been done in the comics. In Cable and Deadpool issue 44, DP says to Wolverine that even homicidal maniacs can have a friend keeping an eye out for us. I think it's pretty heartwarming that DP finds a family after losing Vanessa, which is why I don't like the decision to make the mid-credit scenes canon. Anyway, the action and special effects are still great. It's amazing to see comic book accurate Juggernaut, and while I was a bit disappointed by X-Force, it's fun to see them die grotesquely before the mission even begins. The sick, violent, vulgar humor is still there, it's just that the rest of the humor doesn't work as well. That's basically my thoughts on the two Deadpool movies. I love the first one and like the second. Really, as a Deadpool fan, I'm just happy to see a proper live-action Deadpool. Hope you guys like my review and nails. I did fourth wall breaking Deadpools in the styles of the credit scenes. This is why I did the thing that's not Deadpool for my Origins review, so that Deadpool can be pissed off about it on his own nail. Let me know if you think they're funny in the comments. This nail looks a bit different than the one in my video because I redid it to make the back red. Also, the stamping on the first one is severely smeared after the top coat, so might as well do a new one. The next video will finally be about Deadpool and Wolverine. Stay tuned for that. As always, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, comment, share, do what you want, keep nailing it, and maximum effort, people.